I already forgot to do something. Hello, everybody. Welcome, one human being. Hi, how's it going? We're just waiting for a few more people to arrive into our room. And, yeah. Being live is always strange. I hope that you stick around. And, yeah. Am I on the right channel? Where am I? What's going on here? Oh, good. People, hello. I'm Kris. Nice to see ya. Just going to we're waiting on Kiliii for a moment just to kind of set up, and we'll start our conversation right away. This color's crazy. Welcome everybody. We're waiting on some more people to get into the room before we start our conversation. My name is Kris Graves, and I'm coming to you live from Queens, New York. Thanks for being on the call with us. And we're speaking tonight. Oh, thanks for Blue Sky for having us. My name is Kris. I run a company named Kris Graves Project, which is we make photography books for the most part. We also make some works on paper projects happen. I used to run a gallery, now I run a book company. We're also starting a new press named Monolith Editions, which is focused on artists of color, or making books with artists of color. Today we'll be talking to, and this password's never going to work, so the color's just going to stay this way. Unbelievable. We're talking to Kiliii Yuyan today, who's coming in to us from, I think he's in Seattle. Yeah, and we're going to talk about his book. We just got in the mail where are our books? Our Lost series, which is Lost, little gold slipcase. There's purple lights on, you can't really see much of the color here today, but little box. You have a book by Courtney Estalos and Michael Hicks named The Glittering Eye. Oh my god, that looks so crazy. Okay. We have a book, Nadia Nakorda's A Special Kind of Double. We have Afghanistan by Kenneth and Marilyn Rye. I don't know. Well, you can find out about all of these on our website also. This is New York by a mentor named Jet Devine, who was a Purchase college teacher. Big up Purchase. Hello, everybody, for joining on the call. I'll wave at everybody really quick. Hey, Owen. Thanks. Nice mustache. I'll take it. I'll take anything I can get. We have Alina Van Ryzen's Bryn Mawr book here. We have Tess Roby's book on Montreal. We have a lot of stuff. This is like one set of books. We have so many books now. And this is, of course, Kilii's book. We'll speak to him right in 2 minutes, or 1 minute. And we have The Springs by Haley Austin as part of this Lost set. We've made this set. This is the third year we've done this. And we now have 38 books in the series. We'll do a few next year, I think, also. So we're just adding up. But yeah, thanks for being with us. And let me see if I can get... oh yeah, thanks for the purple, love. I wish that I had access to... I wanted these colors to change, but now I don't know how to make that happen because I'm a fool. So let's see if Kilii's on the call. No, Kiliii, if you are here, hi. Let's see if I can add you to our conversation. Okay, let's find him. Okay. That was sent, so hopefully he gets it. Well, welcome. It's Friday night. It's been another crazy week in America, always. It's always crazy all the time now. So I hope you're all good, and I hope you're good. Kiliii, where are you at, man? Oh, actually, let's see. That was wrong. Sorry for the dead time, y'all. Just trying to figure it out. He's not on yet. I think Kiliii is trying to come to us from like a crazy location, so that may be the holdup, but we'll see in a minute. Al J. Thompson, how's it going, man? Everything good? If you have any questions before we get started, please let me know. But yeah, once we get going, just please talk to us. We're here to have a conversation with you all, so it would be great if you had questions. I'll intersperse them into our talk. And now we're just waiting for Kiliii. Hopefully he is okay. I think that he said that he wanted to come to us from a very crazy location, so it might be a minute to get connected to him. How long can I possibly talk? Oh my gosh. The book. Yeah, I'll show you the book. My wife's giving me instructions. It's really good. So yeah, this is Oh, here he is. Oh, thank God. Okay. So here we go. Okay. Where is this location? Okay, cool. Yes, he just joined and he's going to pop in here. Please say yes to my request, Kiliii, and join our conversation. Please say yes. Yeah, he's outside. I know he's outside. I can feel it. Anyhow, so I will show the book because as we wait, why not show the book we just made? So, and I will let him explain it. I'm just going to go through some of the photographs in the book. He's been photographing in a place named Chukotka, which is a large part of northeastern Russia. I mean, it's huge. The land mass is pretty large, and it's not populated with too many people. So, so it's a mix between. Oh, unable to join. Let's try that one more time. So he's out there in the middle of. Hello. Oh, it's.
Hey, Kris.
How's it going? What is going on, man? Where are you right now?
I am in a kayak, as promised.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
One of my nice go-to spots for being around nature, but in town. It's pretty nice.
Awesome. And town is where?
Seattle. I'm here in Seattle.
Cool. And are you from Seattle?
I guess I am now. This is as close as I get to a hometown at the moment.
Okay, I
nice
like that.
To see you, Kris.
Yeah, nice to see you too. My lights are crazy purple. I'm going to try to change those as we speak. Yeah, it's something. I wanted them to swirl around in color. I want it to be kind of fancy tonight, but I just, it's Friday night. I'm screwing up. What are you going to do? So
you're already fancy, so it's good.
Yeah. So you say that this is like it's your home. How long have you been in Seattle?
I've been living in the Northwest now for probably about maybe 10, 12 years. But I've had my home base in Seattle proper for maybe the last 8.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 7.
And cool. And where were you before? A lot of places?
I have lived in a lot of places. The Deep South. I've lived in Texas and Tennessee, and I've lived in D.C. and Queens, New York.
Oh, nice. I didn't know you were in Queens.
Yeah. In the 80s when it was really real, for sure.
Oh, shit. Okay. Dang it. I was there in the 80s, too. I mean, I'm here now, but I was also there.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I miss it sometimes, but, it's a whole different ballgame now.
Yeah. I mean, everything's a whole different ballgame, like in the last 3 or 4 months anyway, right? It's kind
right. Well, I'm
intense.
glad I wasn't in Queens in the last 3 or 4 months.
You had Seattle. I mean, being in the Northwest was not the best, but Queens is just a different level of crowded, as you can imagine. Okay, you're a photographer on a kayak right now. Why do you come to us from this kayak? Is this something that you built? Because I know you build kayak.
Yeah, well, here, I'm going to extend it a little bit so y'all can see the boat a little bit.
Are you on, do you have, the selfie stick going on this?
I do. I figured
awesome.
I was going to be able to reach around too much, but here, you can see can you see the kayak?
Oh, yeah, totally. Awesome.
So this is the connection for me, all things for me, a lot of my background, everything that I do is kind of related to kayaks in the most recent time. We call them zai. My culture calls them zai. But they broadly known as kayaks, and I think it's a better word for them because most kayak-using cultures say the word kayak.
Gotcha.
Yeah, traditional boats for me are are really big. I've been doing them for much longer than I've had a camera in my hands.
Oh, really? So when did you first pick up a camera?
Like I did very briefly dabbled in like a high school course, or maybe a college course. I can't even remember. Getting old.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
so
not seriously until I was like guiding kayak trips off of Vancouver Island, and that's what I like was actually like, oh hey, this is an amazing tool for communication.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you make both now, or are you focused on one, or like how?
I still do. I still build and teach kayak building, but it has gotten very difficult in the last couple of years to swing it. I think the business side of the kayak stuff is going to have to suffer and slowly ebb away. But I'm not letting go of the cultural component. Like I'll always build these. These will be a part of me, if for no other reason than for cultural preservation. I don't even say preservation. We'll just say making sure that boats are with us.
So what you're talking about the cultural references, but I don't know what do you mean? Like, what is your culture like?
Well, so from I am both Chinese American and also Nanai, which is Siberian native, and our culture is built what a lot of people would say. Well, in anthropology, people think of it as the original kayaks, or maybe even the precursor to kayaks. So it's maybe a bit hard to see, but I'm going to show you guys so that you can see what this is all about.
Yeah, you can move the camera around. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Here.
And there he goes. There he goes. Am I still with you guys? Or his switcheroo? I think he's like turning his camera on. Am I a go? Can somebody give me like a thumbs up or something to tell me that we're... Yo, you're back. You're back.
Oh, sorry. I must have hit it by accident. Did you guys see the inside of that? Or no?
No, man. You got to do it one more time.
Okay, I'll try it one more time. Here.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
So wow. You can see the interior framing of the boat, and that's how it's done. It's all it's framed in red cedar and bamboo, and then skinned. So the kayak's actually sewn together, so you can kind of see that on the deck.
Somebody said, hopefully, or my boy Owen said, hopefully the phone didn't drop into the water. That would have been something else. I would have been just like, well, I'm going to end this call now. Thank you very much. It was nice to see you for 5 minutes. By the way, thanks, Blue Sky, for having us. If anybody has questions as we go along, please let me know. I do have some questions I want to answer, and we'll just go from there. But you're saying that your first photographs were on kayak trips, most likely. So, do you remember a first photograph that made you think like, "Oh my God, I got to make more photographs"?
Yeah, I think there was a trip I remember, and there was the sunset in Vancouver Island off of some islands offshore, and the moon was rising it was a full moon, so by definition it rises right as the sun sets, and so that had just risen, and the sun had just set, so it was a really incredible scene of this Northwest Islands.
Oh wow!
With the full moon and stuff, and the color was that pink that you see in landscapes that people love nowadays. Yeah.
Well, what do you mean by that? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, I think being having done a lot of landscape photography now, I think there's been a while where it has I guess you could say it kind of annoyed me that to see pictures of just beautiful sunsets or the northern lights, or really incredible phenomena sometimes, and the photographs themselves can be really amazing. And yet there's a I think over time I've come to feel that there's a certain emptiness to photographs like that, where and I think that's just something like as a photographer we kind of had to get out of our systems. We are drawn to the beauty of it. We're drawn to the beauty of it, and I think especially when it's brand new, it's just very alluring.
Yeah, totally.
When you're taking those photographs, but I think over time I've come to just see the beauty in, I guess, the everyday the familiar, not the like true moments that are just dramatic and exceptional, but the moments that are like that we're composed of all the time.
It's a big difference between like me liking a photograph and maybe my family liking a photograph. Right? If they don't have the art education, then we start liking. How do I say this the right way? Like the art education forces you to like some certain things that you might normally not actually like if you never knew the education of it. Like it's.
Yeah, I agree. I think what we're really trying to go for too, as photographers, in a way. I mean, I say this especially from the point of view of photojournalism, but the ability to move people, with regardless of the aesthetic beauty of an image, I think is what we're kind of going for. I know a lot. I'll say that especially out of for journalism. For me, the ability to move people regardless of the aesthetic beauty is really important. And I think actually you definitely understand this because I'm thinking in particular about the Confederate monuments photographs that you've just done.
The Richmond stuff.
That fantastic set of photographs you did for Nat Geo. I think
so much.
It's incredible because when you look at them on one level, they don't like pictures of graffiti on walls is not typically what people think of when they think of like aesthetically beautiful images, right?
Yeah, I know. Especially down in Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah, but your images are incredibly moving. They're incredibly moving. I find them to be beautiful, but what I mean when I say beautiful is that they're moving. Like I look at them and I feel the struggle, and I feel just like these moments in history coming together and colliding when I see that stuff. And to me, that's like the power of photography right there. And it doesn't require like exceptional moments. I guess you could say like exceptional weather.
Yeah, it's the everyday. I mean, there has to be some a record of the normal things that are happening all the time, like not just the fantastical or the oh my god, I went to the top of this mountain, and that stuff is. I mean, it's all beautiful. I mean, there's like definitely art, like our fine art photographers that have made their beautiful mountain photographs. They're still like part of the canon and really important. But yeah, it gets. There's a lot of people that can do that work. I think it's really like, what work can you do that other people can't? And I think that's what's coming into fruition now these days with, the art world becoming a little bit more personal about the way they like work or want to see the work. Like, it's coming from a place that you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
And we're going to talk about the book. We'll talk about, let's talk about this a little bit just because why not? And I have the crazy colors now. I can't change it. I can't access the phone once the video starts, and I should have changed the lights and all that, but it's not happening. I'm going to I think I can make one just white. Will you work if I just do it? Okay, cool.
Oh, hey, there you go. Nice. All right.
So, Shugoka, can you explain this a little bit? You said some of your family's from Siberia.
Yes, that's right. So,
but
Siberia is really huge. So this is the thing that people don't know. The space, the Siberia can fit the United States, including Alaska, plus 1/3 or more.
Really?
It's that big. Siberia alone is the largest country. Would be the largest country in the world.
Gotcha.
It's an enormous area. Yeah.
How many people? Do you know how many people live in Siberia? The total?
That's a good question. Actually, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm guessing it's not very populated.
It's not very populated, and the vast majority of the population is in just a couple places too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but so Chukotka is on the same coastline. It's in the same general area as where my family's from, but Chukotka is much further north. It's deeply in the Arctic, where I was from. An area that, strangely enough, is actually colder, but is much further south.
Oh, I see. So it's milder more north. Okay.
It's just because most of Chukotka's populated areas are moderated by the ocean, just like everywhere else where there's ocean. The ocean,
gotcha.
moderates it. I mean, I guess there's portions of Chukotka that are inland, but they're not the Chukotka I was looking at.
Yeah, well, actually, before we talk a lot about the book,
yeah,
how did you get there? I mean, that's the first question, I guess, to ask.
Yeah.
Like, why this? How did you do that? Like, why did you do this?
Why? That's a good question. I think actually, in a lot of ways, this is interesting for me because I am very interested in the indigenous cultures of especially the Arctic regions because how people adapt to this particular landscape, which is so like a part of my heart, such a deep part of my heart. The Arctic and the Pacific Northwest in particular, they're just landscapes that I love, and I think there's a certain kind of relationship that in particular indigenous cultures have with the place that is just so rich, and the Arctic happens to be a place where I've just chosen to develop one of those relationships. So like the Northwest, I know better than the Arctic because I've spent more time crawling around in it. I've spent a lot of time in the Arctic now, but living here in the Northwest, it's more accessible. There's more.
It's also much closer than just the Arctic, right? I mean, that's like a huge region of many different countries, or I guess, not many, but there's enough different stuff to see there. But yes, Chukotka. And how do you pronounce it? Because I need to know how to pronounce this book properly.
Chukotka.
So no T. You don't pronounce the T very much.
I can hear it, but you really. I think honestly, this is a question for a native Russian speaker.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, okay, can you run us through this book really quickly so that people can understand a bit about what we're looking at?
Yeah. So, what you're looking at this particular image is pretty amazing. Those are the jaw bones of gray whales and bowhead whales, and they are set in a structure that I don't think that we totally know a tremendous amount about it, but it's a ceremonial structure in a village that is no longer populated. So during Soviet era, this village got moved. The people in this village got moved several times. So they got moved to the village and forced to settle there, and then got moved away again to make it more convenient for any number of reasons during the Soviet era. All of the history of these places is complicated.
As all of our histories are complicated.
That's right.
So I love this picture. I just want to what is that? Is this the end of a day of fishing, or how?
That picture was a gift. My God, it was just like a moment when it was just everything was. I saw it happen, and I was just like, oh my God, what an amazing gift this is. But I was just standing around with a bunch of Chukchi, and the guys were just like hanging out. They're fishermen, just hanging out, and then all of a sudden this door broke open, and it started raining really hard on us. So everyone retreated into those containers. We were right here on the beach, so they're just chilling out for a second. And they're kind of looking at me like, "Why are you standing in the rain?"
That's pretty funny. Okay, cool. So I'm not gonna make you talk about all these pictures. If anyone has a question about these photographs, it's on you to stop me, and then we can go that way. But if you just explain a little bit about how you got there and why you decided to go up there to make the photograph.
Yeah, well, so the real impetus for this actually is because I work for Nat Geo Expeditions, and so that I get asked to be on board the Nat Geo ships in the Arctic as an Arctic specialist.
Okay. More questions about this? Yeah.
Particularly because it's helpful for these kinds of trips where it's extremely cultural. Like culture is a really big part of it. It's not just wildlife at like Antarctica, for example.
Yeah.
People want to know.
There's people. Yeah.
And this was the first time that this was the first season that Nat Geo Expeditions went to the Russian Far East.
This is 2 years ago now, 2018 or 19 when you made these?
2019.
Cool. So when were you here? When did you make these photographs?
In August 2019.
Wow, so it's not even a year. I mean, it's almost a year now.
Yeah, right. Almost a year. It is kind of amazing because it feels like a lifetime ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
The last 3 months must feel like a year or 2 years. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. I mean, I don't have a day job, so that's probably why I don't know what day of the week it is. But it's a wild time, man.
It's a wild time.
It's tough.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm guessing this is not the one that has the like. Anyway, sorry. Go on, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and some of the thing that makes this particular set of images complicated for me too, because it's my method of working, or just my method of being in the world, is to go to a community and actually spend time in the community and get to know everyone, get to know the kids, and play like the names of kids and play with them, like butcher seals and help people do stuff, so that I kind of like eventually just disappear into the community. Like, I want people to know my name and for them to ask for me, or for us to want to go like hang out, do something because they're friends. And so coming on this particular trip, it's like the ship, it has a specific schedule, and that's all it can do, right? So I'm forced to do what many travel photographers do and spend a short amount of time. So I'm drawing upon my knowledge of, like, general knowledge of indigenous cultures, because I don't know Chukchi culture specifically very well at all, but I do know Arctic cultures, and so a lot of it is me, like, with the kind of insider outsider take, I guess you could say, like, I understand a lot about the history and the general outlines of this place, but I don't know about the specifics, and so there's so much mystery to me, actually.
Yeah.
And you can probably see that I'm drawn to some of the mystery, but I always am.
And we're working on other stuff too, and it's the same. I mean, meaning the work comes from the heart, and you can see it when it's on a page or when it's on the screen. It definitely shows, and it's great to see the consistency of work. I mean, I've seen so many. Well, in the last 1 or 2 years, I've seen a lot of stuff you've been doing with Nat Geo, which is cool. So I guess that they're like hiring. It's great. Like they're giving you opportunity to kind of explore, especially to get on a boat. Like, I don't even understand what that means. Like, what do you mean? Like, they just call you and say, "Hey, we need you." Just what is the process like?
Yeah. Well, would you? Well, the director of expeditions, or photographers rather, for the Nat Geo experts, as we're called.
Nice.
Asked me to come in and say hello, and I went over and talked to her, and she was like, "Would you like to be on this trip? We need people who have experience in this region of the Arctic." And I haven't been to the Russian side, but I've spent lots of time in the Bering Sea, Alaskan side, and they're actually of Russian descent, or Russian indigenous descent. And so, like, I have expertise in this area that very few people really do. So that lets me get on board the ship. And the ships are interesting. There are cruise ships, but they're the smallest cruise ships. They're only like 100 cruise passengers, and then like 7.
So not many rooms on these things.
What's that? So
not many rooms on these ships.
Yeah, they're small. It is definitely still kind of a bit of a floating hotel kind of vibe to it, but it's way fancier than I normally travel, for sure.
That is cool.
But the thing I love about it, though, is it does make places like the Arctic accessible to people who would never be able to go. Like people who, you got to get on and off of the Zodiac in like a bumping sea, and for a lot of passengers, they just don't have there's no way they could get on and off the Zodiac in a rough sea without the help of the Nat Geo expedition team, the Lindblad team.
Oh, I see.
So they make it possible, and it's very cool that they make this possible.
Yeah, that is interesting. My wife is doing, I don't know what the hell she's doing. Okay, sorry, I got sidetracked because I'm starting to think about like this kind of cruise ship that travels around the world for people to like, be helped by, but also for photographs to happen. That's such a glorious photography moment when you can get on a boat paid for by someone else to photograph somewhere.
Right.
It's just
it's interesting though. Like some people, I found it actually also very frustrating. There were some really great moments that I feel like I kind of snatched from somehow from the ether. That they just it's just by the virtue of the fact that there were some amazing experiences, but also being on a ship is really hard because we are very constrained by Russian regulations. We have to stay super far away from things like the polar bears, and you're talking like hundreds of yards. Not allowed to really walk anywhere without other people, Russian guides, and that kind of thing. There, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site for a lot of it. So that makes it challenging.
Why would you want to walk near a polar bear anyway? Is my question. Like, what is that?
Hey, guess what? The rangers in Wrangell Island, which is the UNESCO Heritage Site, they actually deal with the polar bears with long poles.
What?
I tip my hat to them. Long poles. It's just knowing the animals really well, and they do a lot of observation. They're very careful, and they've been able to make it work. But they're also. It's not like they don't have very many tourists, so by far they've done it, but it's mostly because everyone's trained. Everyone's familiar with the landscape, and they know how it works. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Russians are particularly also very practical, and many of the rangers are indigenous also. So that's like so deep. Polar bears are such a deep part of their culture. They don't have any misconceptions about these beautiful fuzzy things that are just hanging out to hug and kiss.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I like that.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about this photograph just a little bit because I love this. I mean, I love the book, but this one is what is happening. Do you know what's happening here, or is it?
Yeah. Well, it's really a dance that's set up. They're doing a dance ceremony for the ship passengers who've come in, and you can see that bus that they came in on, like the old Soviet era equipment, is so alluring. It's so beautiful because it's so industrial and strange, to Americans who are used to seeing not only shiny new things, but also not the scale, like those Tundra tires on that vehicle.
Yeah.
But the dance, the dance is in this region. The native people here, the Chukchi, they're doing that dance, have actually maintained a lot of their dance and ceremony really well as a result of performing them for tourists. And so they've changed a bit, but it's really cool that they are still doing it.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, and that. So
what is it? Oh, is this for the polar bears right here?
Yeah, that is exactly right. Those spikes are because if you don't have those spikes on that window, when you come back to that cabin, your cabin will have a hole in it, and there will be a polar bear sticking out of it.
This life is just very different than my own. I'll just say that. So what I was going to ask, with jobs aren't really happening right now, I presume. But are you still going on the road a bit for work, or how are you working with?
Yeah, we're starting to open back up, even with Nat Geo. Like I've actually got 3 assignments that I'm on right now. We're trying to figure it out in the era of COVID how it's going to work.
Are these ones that you have to take planes for these things? I'm guessing.
Yeah, for some of it, we're trying to drive. I'm trying to drive as much as possible to make it work. But anything that's in another country, like Canada isn't going to let us in, and I don't know how long it's going to be because, frankly, we're all diseased. We're from the US, so I don't blame them.
Oh, so sad. So sad what is happening here. Maybe it's not sad. Maybe it's, there's a piece that is, of course, depressing, sad, and kind of the end of the world. But then there's a piece that's like, hey, can we please change some shit? Like, please, finally, can we get some things accomplished during this kind of wild-ass ride that we're on? But,
it's so
I
fun
guess...
too, because, what's going on in Texas and stuff. Like, I lived in Texas as a kid. I'm in Lubbock, which is deep Texas, for sure, and then El Paso, which is also very Texan. And, it's changed a lot. The, politicization of, making something like wearing masks political, it's just not the Texas that I know and grew up with. It was just like, it was just like down home, everyone hanging out with each other as neighbors and just like being out in the dry, dusty desert, and it was cool. You know, it's just like very small town kind of feel, and everything. People got along with each other, you know. And now it's like national things like the aerial view affects how people relate with each other, whereas it didn't used to be like that. You know, like we kind of lost the small town feel.
Fucking cell phones, man.
It's fun because I love. There's parts of Texas. There's some stuff about Texas that I still love.
Oh yeah, I have a friend that lives in Fort Davis, like Southwest Texas, and he tells me stories that I find completely unbelievable. Like people in this town are wild. They're wild. It's amazing. But you know, like there's good and bad. I mean, there's pluses and minuses, but there is a different level of like community in Texas than there is in like any major city I've ever been.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
okay, so you want to know?
Sorry, it's your. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying you are getting work, so that's cool. You can keep your apartment. Congratulations.
yeah, no, right. Well, I mean, thank God for the CARES Act, though, for sure. That unemployment is helpful. There's definitely a period in there where, like, you know, I worked hard to keep pitching, and I did like a couple of assignments even during the height of the pandemic, but it's hard to keep it going, you know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if I didn't have books at this moment, it would have been really, really bad. I mean, like, no jobs for a few months. That's what it is. I mean, like, I can't live in America without having jobs. Don't worry about this white line. I peeled this book open to like take pictures so it lays completely flat.
Oh yeah, right.
Anyway, so what I was going to ask, like, this is a piece that was a little bit of work and a lot of pleasure, of course, but you also work on personal projects.
Yeah, I do for sure, and I in a way you could say that like I almost kind of think of my assignments as personal projects. It's kind of rare. Like almost everything that I work on is something that I pitched. You know, so there's that, and then but then also the stuff that I do get handed that I do get assigned is often stuff that is a perfect fit for me because I have put out there a very specific vision of what I want to do, like and what I do already. So that's the work that I get, and like it's important for me to hand this down. Like I get a lot of work about that's related to Northern Indigenous cultures, but I just get a lot of work that's related to Indigenous cultures in general, and I want to hand a lot of this over to young Indigenous photographers that are even more close to home for, you know.
Yeah.
Like I am native, but I'm part of a diaspora from China and Siberia. So that's far away from Indigenous issues here in the U.S.
Yeah, very true.
So I try to tackle the stories that are more about global native issues and about the Arctic region, and try to let more specifically regional issues be handled by people who are more close to it. But we have a pipeline problem right now. There are not enough Indigenous photographers. There are many opportunities now opening up. I think I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's good, but we have the pipeline problem because the opportunities are opening now. So, it's going to take 15, 20 years until that pipeline is filled. Right.
Do you think that it's still a 2-decade process to get things changed like that?
Well, I don't. Not at the institutional level. It's not the 2 decades at the institutional level, although for some of them definitely. But it's more that young people who are coming up and doing this kind of stuff, there's a tremendous amount of training. Like I know for Indigenous cultures, especially the ones that come from really from like more remote communities that don't have art training, or ones who come from the global south or from non-wealthy countries, they got to learn how to speak to an American audience, American editors, and all that. Then they have to be a great photographer. Then they have to understand how to explain their culture to an audience that's not their own. When we're talking about jobs. Yeah, so it's a lot of things to learn. It's really difficult. It just so happens to be that this is a skill set that I have, but it is almost like it's unplanned, It's not like I was like, oh, here I want to be a photojournalist, and I'm going to learn these things. It's like I learned these things because that was the course of my life, and it just so happens to be a good fit because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's like a growing process. None of this stuff comes out of nowhere. It's always it's gradual. I mean, it usually is gradual.
Well, I'm curious. How did you get your like? How did you get fascinated by art? How did you get your art education? Where did that come from?
I think I was always interested in arts as a child, and my parents both went to high school of like art and design here in the city, which was like a good high school to go to if you wanted to be an artist back in the 70s, 80s. I mean, they're still around. I think that high school still exists, but they didn't get to do art because they had to get jobs. They were black in the 80s, so you had to get a job, right? There was no art for you. So when I said, like in junior year, can I have a camera? They were like, no, you can wait a year and try to like figure out if you actually deserve one. Like it's so. Oh,
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, and then I got a job in that time, paid for it. They still bought my first camera, which I appreciate. Because, B&H was something I didn't know existed, and we paid probably double for the camera in Long Island somewhere because it's some bullshit. That's how it goes. But in high school, I realized that what were my options, right? Science was not an option for me. I just was not good at it. I love physics, but I was like, I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to be a teacher. And so science was out. Math was like, no way. I mean, I think I took like calculus, pre-calculus. I took pre-calculus, and they were like, you shouldn't be in this class, man. And like the teachers, there was 2 teachers for it, and they were like, nah, you shouldn't be here. But I did it anyway because they had this like weighted average. I'm going way off topic, but like that weighted average was like, bam, I got like a B plus for doing like minimal amounts of work. So it was helping the GPA rise. My parents were happy. But of course, no math. And I tried to I signed up for the calculus class. The first day after class, they're like, "Yeah, you should drop this class. We're not giving you passing grades again." So I was like, "Cool." No, it was great. I was like, "No, I didn't know I couldn't. I didn't know I could have free time in high school. Anyway, I didn't know that was possible." It's really possible. So yeah, nothing. I mean, English. I didn't want to like write or read my whole life. So. That sounds really stupid when I say it. But anyway, it was art. I was always interested in art, and once I picked up a camera, I was like, this is the art where you can actually make money. That's what I thought. Like, if I'm a photographer and learn how to do this, then I can actually maybe make a living in art. Because I couldn't do that in painting. I didn't see a path for that in any other art besides photography.
It's funny. I think in college, actually, when I did design, and I did industrial design, and there was one guy in our class who went through industrial design, and he was like, he's like, I actually, it turns out he really just wanted to be a photographer, but he figured he couldn't make any money doing photography, so he was in industrial design to pay for his photography habit.
I respect the hustle. I mean, my parents let me, but I did get into school, and my parents said, well, I got into like 3 private schools and then public school. My parents were like, if you go to private school, you pay. If you go to public school, like Purchase College where I went, big up Purchase to all the Purchase people on the call. Big ups to everybody at Purchase College. But they were like, yeah, we'll pay for that, or we'll at least help you pay for that. And I was like, well, that's the school. And plus, it turned out to be the best. I think it was the best one anyway. So
that's awesome. Yeah. It really takes so much help. It takes so much help to learn all this stuff, or to even know that you need to learn this stuff, or to like.
When you're a kid, you're just going with the flow. I think like you have to rely on other people to make decisions that are important for you. I mean, that's what I had to do at least.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a process that's pretty. That's true for everybody too. Like when you're a kid, you don't know what you don't know what you really want to do. I mean, I don't know. There's like 1 or 2 randos out there that really
knew exactly. This is exactly what I'm going to do. Like I'm going to. No, who knows? I mean, like I think you can only do those types of things when you maybe had money to start with something. You're like, how do you? You can't make your own choices if you have no money, right? Like you have no options.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Before we go too far down a place where we're not talking about art anymore, I wanted to know like what because we can do this all day, I'm sure.
Sure.
What is in the art world or in the world in general? Have there been influences for you? Like, do you consider anyone like a mentor, or have you looked at someone's art over the course of the years, or maybe a film or movies or like directors or whatever, like that were just like, whoa, that's a piece. I need a piece of that in my life.
Yeah, I definitely think that there have been. It's been kind of all over the place. I'd say like actually, maybe unsurprisingly, but I think even early on I was very heavily influenced by like Erica Larson, who is now I can call her a colleague, which is amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah, but Erica Larson and Matthew Paley. Lots of Nat Geo photographers because it's just incredible. But also, I was influenced when I was very briefly a commercial photographer and an assistant at REI. And so during that time, I was starting to get into commercial stuff and influenced by a bunch of adventure and commercial photographers. And one of them who was, so I was surprised actually to find that when I think about it, that I was influenced by, but it's Eric Almas, who is a commercial photographer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Eric, does, some people don't even call his work like photography, they call it photo illustration or something like that, because it's really heavily composites, it's like lots of plates and then lighting and all that. But, Eric's work, like when you see the finished product, it's kind of like, I look at his stuff and I'm like, oh, that's the prototype for the ideal version of what I would like to be able to do, but I want to capture that in real life. I want to see that that's actually happened. So that his aesthetic is really there. Yeah. I get that, but you would never see that in real existence. And so, I guess in a way, my goal is to kind of
find some normal magic, some magic and normalcy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. And then, I don't know. I mean, we're drawn by the heart, but then also by the mind too. And so, I'm very much drawn to the things that I care about as a like human being, like the causes that I care about, and telling the story of places that haven't had their story told well. Yeah.
Do you have a place that you have to go back to, like once this is over? Is there like a once this is over? That sounds like crazy terrible. Once the coronavirus has kind of tempered, or we get a shot or some shit, or the second shot, because you never take the first shot, right? You gotta take the second shot, right? We're second shot people.
Yeah, right.
Where do you get where are you going on a plane? Like, where's the first thing that you do for like vacation, true like photo vacation style? Like, where are you going?
I have to say that I think it's Iceland, because Iceland is really, of course, very stunning, but it's also easy. I like to call it Arctic Light, because it's kind of what it is.
It's not, but it could be 30, 40 degrees, it's not too bad.
Yeah, right, exactly. You get all these beautiful formations and snow, but you don't have to just totally freeze your butt off. And there's infrastructure there, like you could drive through a lot of the coolest places. Instead of planning for weeks about how you're going to land the bush plane or circle for half an hour trying to find a lake that's not too frozen, or that's not that's frozen enough. Yeah.
If you get a 4x4, you can do a lot of it, most of it.
Yeah, exactly. And just, Iceland is truly, truly stunning in a way. Like, it just kind of has everything that much of the rest of the Arctic has, but it's all smushed. It's like less dramatic than a lot of the rest of the Arctic in some places, but it's all smushed into a very small space. So you can see this huge variety of things.
It's a 900-mile road, right? I mean, the Ring Road, I've done it like 4 times, so I'm definitely a fan of Iceland. But like the Ring Road being 900 miles, it's like, damn, you can do that in 4 days. I mean, I've done it in 4 days, which you shouldn't. You should not do that in 4 days. But,
I feel you, totally.
But yeah, if you get like 10, 12 days in there, you're like, this is a real trip. Like, I want to take, like, at some point when I have children, I want to take them to Iceland pretty early on, like, so they can see a different kind of world. I mean, from New York, it's super easy. And that was the first, I would say, national park I ever saw with Iceland 10 years ago. Oh, shit, 10 years ago. So first time I went to Iceland was 10 years ago, and We drove around 4 days, me and my friend Dan, just on a layover, because they used to do those free layovers for Iceland Air. I don't know if they do that anymore.
No, they still do. Although 10 years ago, you got in before it was cool, really. That's pretty
Before
amazing.
people went. Yeah. A good friend of mine named Terry Gerard, big up Terry, he went there, and he took these beautiful photographs. I was like, what is this place? How does this exist 5 hours away from New York City, and I'm going to, like, London? What am I doing? Anyway, so he came back with pictures, and I was like, I have to go to that place. I have to go to that place and see what that's about. So next year, I did that, and I love it. I'll go back anytime. When you go to Iceland, let me know, man. We'll take a few days. That would be fucking dope.
Excellent. That would be great. I'd love to go with you. I think it would be a lot of fun. It'd be real eye-opening. You know, and I've been to Iceland a lot of times now. I've been there 5 times for 2 weeks each time. So I feel like I know it reasonably well now, but it is a little crazy to... I do feel something that is strange, which is that I don't know the Icelandic people very well. I don't know Icelandic culture very well because it's really easy to just totally avoid. I think Icelanders maybe even hide a bit from all the tourists and all of that. You know, like,
I think that it's just not a culture where you're going to meet people in the daytime, right? It's like when we were out at bars at night, you can get into trouble. It's nice to be like, but it's only going to happen in like the 2 cities, right? Like you can't if you don't know anybody outside of Reykjavik and like Akureyri, then you're not seeing anybody on the island. You're going to be alone unless you have people with you.
That's right.
That's how
I mean, you just have to make an effort to actually meet and hang out with people, which is what I haven't done. You know, like I've been traveling specifically with the intention of hanging out on the landscape and not meeting people, and that would be the next priority. I love some of the work that of Iceland from Icelanders who are like hanging out with their own people. You know, like families and stuff. It's just such a different thing when you think of Iceland. That's not what you think of for photographs, but they're some of the coolest.
I know. I'll definitely know some people where you can like meet them and be like, oh, this is a wild ass Icelander. I dig it. What about they believe in magic, man. You gotta love a culture that believes in magic.
Yeah, totally, right? Absolutely. I think it's interesting because people who are Scandinavian or of Scandinavian descent, like just lose it when you get movies like Frozen or things that like reference their Norse roots, you know, and there's all the trolls and all of these like kind of I guess you call them maybe even pagan spiritual elements or cosmologies. And that's really cool. It's just funny how the world knows so much about this kind of like Viking pagan ancestry, yet it's just another aspect of people that's animistic. You know, like there are thousands of cultures that are animistic and have really just as cool cosmologies in the world around, and nobody knows about them. Nobody knows about it. Is interested in like finding out. People are just not that interested in finding out about what the truth of them is. And even I think even like a lot of Viking culture has been very much dumbed down and changed. You know, it's like there's a sort of weirdly sanitized version of it. You know, I would say I feel very certain. I would bet that some of the original Icelanders would look at the portrayal of Norse culture and be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I'm sure. But we make so much, there's so much film and TV that it all gets altered.
Yeah.
They have no idea what's going on. You know, you can never.
I can just imagine it, like trolls being nice. You know, I can imagine like back then, I imagine Icelanders probably like, no, evil. Stay away, you know, like this is like a legitimate, real thing that we believe in, and you want to stay away from those things as much as possible. You know?
Yeah, totally. I mean, right outside of Reykjavik, there's like a field where they can't. They're not allowed to go through it because like whoever something lives there, elves or whatever, in that field, so you can't build a road through it. And I'm like, perfect, it's great. Like, let some things live, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't even know how long you've been doing this. I think that it's been almost an hour. I hope this thing doesn't cut off. But I don't have too many questions. I will say thanks to Blue, before we just start having fun. Thank you, Blue Sky, for having us. If you go on our website now, kdpnyc.com, type in Blue Sky as the code. You get 30% off all books. So that's it. Blue Sky is the code.
Excellent. I should probably mention. Also, I am having an exhibition at Blue Sky, and I think it's the first one since the COVID shutdown.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The name of the show, it's September. I'm going to have an artist talk as well. I think currently tentatively set for September 10th.
Okay, cool.
And and it's called Rumors of Arctic Belonging.
And I see Geraldine is on the call too. She says, she's at this opening with you.
Excellent.
Perfect. So okay. 16-year-old mix CD. What's on the mix CD, man?
Wait, say it again. Sorry, it's a little echoey in here.
Sorry. 16-year-old mix CD. What's on it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, man.
It's okay to be embarrassed. Don't worry about it. I definitely had a Limp Bizkit track on there.
I totally own it, man. It's freaking all over the place. Okay, so straight up, I'm going to definitely say Alanis Morissette is on it.
Which song? Which song you got on it?
Right? Shoot.
Did you do the, were you a Lilith Fair person? Did you get into the Lilith Fair game? Or what was that?
There's definitely, I don't know, I mean, yes, definitely, but, I wasn't musically aware at that moment in time. There was a lot of Nirvana going on, early Foo Fighters, which I just rediscovered, and I was like, oh, man. The first Foo Fighters album, Dave Grohl going off by himself from Nirvana.
Yeah, for 3 days and making that record. I know, I'm a big fan. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan.
Yeah, a whole song about fingernails. it's
pretty silly shit. I mean, quite silly. I mean, I love Dave Grohl. Second album, still, I love it. It's very different than the grungy first one, but still wonderful. I dig it. Yeah. So you have Alanis Morissette, you got Nirvana, you got a Foo Fighters track on there. What is it left field? What else is on this CD?
God, man, 16.
You got some Beethoven on there, or sorry?
I don't even know. I wasn't that into music quite yet. I don't think it was really I actually eventually became a proper musician and had a band and stuff even not that long ago, 10 years ago. But
oh, really? What?
When I was 16, it was pop culture, all those kinds of things I was still pretty off the radar.
Gotcha. So band, what is the band name that you have? Are you still in a band? Do people know this?
Not doing it anymore. And I'm glad I'm not, because I love to make music, but I think I just didn't really realize the music lifestyle. That's not what for me. It's too urban.
What? You don't get on boats all the time to go out to different places?
Exactly. It was a rough realization at that moment in time. I was like, would I rather paddle, kayak, and talk to my relations, the orcas, or would I rather sing about talking to the orcas? And it just wasn't a contest there.
I dig it. And what? What was the name of the band? That's I think that's one of our last questions. What was the name of the band?
It's called Raised by Ravens.
Raised by Ravens. Oh my God, so dramatic. So dramatic.
Yeah, right.
I dig it. So do you consider yourself a photojournalist, or what do you are you just an art? Do you consider yourself an artist, a photographer? Or?
I'm kind of close to a photographer. I'm not tied up with the labels. I think documentary photographer is probably long form documentary photographer is the most accurate. But I'll switch hats. It's all good.
Yeah. And you're also doing. I mean, you're making film as well. I mean, you've been doing that for a long time now.
Yeah, well, I don't do it too actively. I have done some film work, but mostly it results from me being in a place for a long time and having shot every still photograph that I could think of shooting. Also, trying to get rid of that word "shooting" out of my vocabulary. It's super hard.
Yeah, it's hard. That's a hard one.
That's a hard one. Yeah. Photograph.
We have to do another. I have to stop you because this thing's going to cut off in 15 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Kiliii, for having us, or thanks for being with us on a kayak. I mean, I don't know if it gets better than this. Look at this landscape. Oh, I'm in an apartment in New York City. Thank you so much. We're about clockwise once.